if you're able to find a place where you can pet a goat, that is a definite win. Right?
Yes.
Now, don't read into it much. I know there's a whole sheep and goat thing, and whatever. I'm choosing goats right now. But petting a goat.
Welcome to another episode of Clean Meats, everybody. We got another crew together to discuss kind of a follow-up on the episode we did. Was it our first one, Steve? I think that
It might have been.
I think it was the first Clean
Yeah.
Meats episode where we talked about our favorite Feast of Tabernacles traditions. We are now going to do, since this is like, May, June, people are starting to register for feast sites. We wanted to discuss what makes a good feast site. And if that sounds very generic to you, that's because it was designed to be. So like that could mean a million different things to a million different people. But we got 4 of them here that are going to participate. We got myself, Steve's coming back, Corbin's back, and we have a new participant now. We have Sarah from Arizona. I got to know Sarah a few years ago at a feast. Coincidentally, that's a nice tie-in. And also, you were called into the church. You didn't grow up in it, correct?
No, I did not. This is only going to be my 11th feast. I'm the only, before getting married and having children, I was the only person in my family called.
That is so cool. And also a great perspective. I love that. So Sarah Sweeney joins us today. Welcome, Sarah. Appreciate you coming on. We're going to have Sarah start us off because she's the guest and because me, Stephen Corbin, have done this like a bunch of times now. So she's going to go first. Then it's going to be me, then Corbin, then Steve. Those of you who watched this before know that we do a snake draft, so it'll come back around. We did do the randomizer. We just didn't do it on screen this time. So it was fair and equitable. For context, we can take this list however we want. You can get silly with it. It can be super serious. I think we'll see where each of our instincts took us with this list. As per usual, I think the only person I'm worried about sniping me is Steve, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. So
Don't worry, I'll get you on one.
Without further ado, let's start off with Sarah here. Sarah, what's your number one quality for what makes a good feast site in your eyes?
So I'm really thankful that I get to go first because I was 100% certain that this was probably going to get sniped. Is going where God writes his name for me. That is like my number one thing. Of course, plenty of things go into that and how he works things out. But yeah, that is my number one, is going where God writes his name for me.
How do you come to that decision?
So I didn't want to like super get into, I've prayed and fasted about it already for this year.
Okay.
Because, some organizations have like set sites. I kind of feel like since COVID, I've kind of floated, which has been super great. So I didn't want to be like, oh, well, we have to go here with this organization and this is where they're saying. Or I also feel like in America, we're kind of super blessed as far as like, here, pick all of these.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right. But yeah, I think the big thing is going where you feel God is writing his name for you. Without getting into other things. My husband also has his say, but we like to discuss and then like, yes, let's go here or stuff.
I've actually never considered fasting about where to go for the feast. So that's an interesting comment. And you're right. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to try to find a way to work it in at some point. But the idea that like the point of the episode is not to treat this like what are the best elements of a vacation spot, right? Like the feast isn't a vacation spot. Right.
Yeah.
Now there are certain things like logistical things you could pick. And if something like crosses into that, fine. But this is very much about like getting creative with like, how do you thinking about where to go for the feast. We're all sort of making this decision around this time. Quick plug for feastgoer.org. If anyone's ever checked out their website, they list the feast sites from the various groups in one place. They do really good work. They've been doing it for a long time now, probably like 20 plus years, right, Corbin? Probably.
Oh,
yeah. So great way to start us off, Sarah.
Yeah, and also thank you for that plug because I'll probably have to use it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So for mine, I went a different route, but I think I went not necessarily based on order of importance, but based on maybe what I think about first with the site. And that is, if I can make it happen, I love sites where there is nothing to do in the area.
Mhm.
That was one I had time to cross off the big board.
Already sniped Steve.
Forced
You're
fellowship.
like, oh, I
Yeah.
got crossed up to you.
Yep. I don't, and I'm sure there are reasons. Another thing too, like a subtext of this conversation is in no way is any of this critical of feast coordinators or certain locations that are chosen. There's like a whole lot, I'm sure, that goes into picking a feast location in terms of cost. There are logistical elements. You need to be someplace where they have like a convention center or some facility that can hold that many people. So a lot of it, I'm sure, is outside of the hands of the people organizing it. Also, very quick plug to anyone who coordinates a feast, because I did operations for a long time in nonprofits and I was the event planner for a lot of it, and I absolutely hated it. Like, they're doing the Lord's work very literally in terms of running these sites. It's a stressful thing. But for me, I love going to non-touristy areas. I want to go someplace where there is nothing you can do except fellowship with people, go out to eat maybe, and fellowship while eating, right? The like 6-hour long dinners at the feast. Like, that's my favorite thing. And like Corbin said, forced fellowship, that might be a theme of mine. Of my choices is forced fellowship. But mine is a feast site where there is absolutely nothing to do. That's like the first thing I consider. Does anyone have any it seemed like that was one everyone resonated with.
I'm just glad we're going to the same feast site this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because when I wrote it down, I put like a minimal, because I think there's something to be said about doing an activity together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Ariel's not on, so I was gonna say that, when the three of us would go to the feast, like we'd go to places where there wasn't a ton to do, we'd have like our bowling tradition, and we just do that. But that was really all we needed. We just needed an event to be together, and so. Yeah, that might tie in with something that I have, but I'll just leave it at that. Like, enough where people aren't going like 2-3 hours away and like just treating it as a vacation to force fellowship. I liked what you said, Corbin.
The phenomenon of church is over and everyone scatters is like my least favorite thing. I love meeting people. You got a bunch of extroverts on this call, and I guess Steve's an ambivert, but you wouldn't know it. Steve gets out.
I've changed.
Yeah, I've changed. So yeah, Corbin.
I mentioned it on the other podcast with the feast traditions and stuff, but in the Philippines, where the whole feast site, everyone came together, gathered under tiki huts, and roasted a cow together. Like, that was, everyone's there together. Technically, you could go out and do other stuff around there, but it was just nice because, hey, this is something we're all going to do together. It was still a couple hundred people, but it was, hey, we're going to do this all together. Everyone here for the feast, we're going to do this thing together.
That's been one of your traditions, roasting an entire animal.
Yeah.
But Corbin, you're up next. Is that one of your requirements, the ability to roast an entire animal?
No, something tangentially related to that. But my number one is going to be, might be in the sniping territory to another young parent on the call. But so I asked AI, the list of UCG sites, I asked AI, what is going to be the feast site that is going to be easiest to travel with 2 little kids and 2 senior citizens. So my in-laws will be traveling with us as well. And so accessibility is what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Of something that's not going to hinder your experience because of having to deal with lots of travel to get here and there. So that kind of points to when you're staying at the same place that you're meeting for church, or you have everything that's all in one place. You don't have to drive to and from, stuff like that. Because I really didn't want to take 2 huge car seats with me to the feast. They have the smaller pumpkin seats, but there's no cup holders in those. So first world problems.
That's a great one. Accessibility.
Yeah. I mean, and then my mother-in-law, has trouble walking long distances and stuff too. So finding a site where it would not be difficult to get there, and then you don't have to like travel around once you're there, kind of thing. So
that's
You did snipe me a little bit.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. I like that we've
in a
already had
weird
2.
way, you did, but
Yeah. I like that we
not
already have 2
officially.
sniping. This also brings up a really interesting point about feast sites in general, is that accessibility is a very underrated consideration. Like one of the things about where I live in the Northeast is that there aren't a lot of feast sites here from any of the groups. I think probably because it's expensive. But what happens when
it's the height, right? It's the fall, which is a major season in the Northeast.
Yeah. So what that becomes like any part of the country where you have a concentration of brethren, and if there are mobility issues and there isn't a local site, they might have trouble getting there. Like that's something we've thought about a lot at Church of God Network. Like, there seem to be some of these gaps where for one reason or another it's not feasible to hold a site. It'd be interesting to consider alternatives for folks. But yeah, accessibility, I can only imagine as a parent not wanting to drive 30 minutes to church every day and be exhausted just from the travel. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I will say, but before I'm not gonna. I had one that was kind of similar. I'm not gonna use this one to say here, just to tack on to what Corbin said though. Is I put as like an idea is you have to have a decent enough airport nearby. Because I hate the time where you're like, I have to travel 3 hours to the nearest airport and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning the day after the last great day, right? Like stuff like that. And you're like, why? And so I think that's also an accessibility thing as well. So I like that a lot.
Although that drive from Denver to Grand Junction was a pretty good one. It was 3 hours though.
That was fun, but yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah. So
mine was, if you can drive, one of the ones is
okay.
You can drive there.
Mhm.
That was one of my requirements, is being able to drive, because the 2 kids, one of them flies free for right now, but it's still like, do we want to rent a car that we have to put a car seat in and all that? So we have to still take it. And so, just if we could drive there, the accessibility thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. Steve, what are your 2? Because you got the turn.
All right, so yes, I have the turn. So the first one, and it's interesting because we talked about this, you and I, a couple of feasts ago.
Darn.
Yeah, am I going to snipe you?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Yeah, I'm glad I get this snipe. So, and it ties in to what you said about forced fellowship. Is the idea there needs to be a central location.
Yep.
Where we can fellowship, because if you have it, and because a lot of times you can't be in the hall the entire time, right? So there's definitely needs to be some place where you can be. And even if it's like, because one of the things that I've noticed recently, and I'm not sure if this is just like an Airbnb thing recently, is a lot of Airbnbs now are saying, can't have parties, can't have people over your house. And so for the feast, it makes it hard because we grew up really having people over and that being the central location for fellowship at people's homes. And now you can't do that. Or in a lot of places, you can't do that. Some places, depending on where it is, you can. But I think having an area where you could fellowship, hang out, everything, if it's like food on site and it's a good enough area where you can also be fellowship, that's great. Because if you are forced to fellowship, you kind of need a place to do it. Because if you just go, all right, cool, you got to go over there and you can't really do anything there, right? It's just stand. I mean, granted, church people, we just stand in the parking lot after services and talk. So we can deal with it. But it is good, especially at the feast. You're going to be doing this for 8-9 days, depending on how long you're there. If you're staying a little longer, a little bit before, you need that space to be able to fellowship with each other.
It was definitely an epiphany one year when Steve and I went to the feast, because it's one of those things where you don't think about it, but you kind of feel it subconsciously. And the site we went, there was it was an all-inclusive place, but it wasn't a there wasn't like a, it wasn't pool season. There wasn't an open area where just you go some places for the feast and there's just like a naturally made space for fellowship. I think I didn't go to the one in Greece that like everyone went to in United a couple of years ago, but they said there was this like rooftop bar or something at the place they were staying where that could hold like a couple hundred people. So everyone just naturally flowed to that space. And so you would meet people organically that way. Whereas if you're in a like a convention center that isn't conducive to people just hanging out in one space, it might be hard to organically meet folks. So it was one of those things now that when you feel it when it's not there, and when there is a good space, you're like, oh, I'm meeting tons of people this feast.
Yeah, and that's
Does
the thing too, because
Montana
it's
have
not.
that?
I do not know.
I was wondering about that. One of the things about Montana is at least that it's a Bible camp, so people,
Yeah.
a lot of people stay there. So I'm assuming there's probably some place to hang out on site. So that'll be interesting. But sometimes if you don't have that, you need to be able to make it, which is something that
Mhm.
we grew up doing, and that's why I brought up the Airbnb issue. Is if you don't have a place to do it, that's central for a lot of people, you might be able to create it, but then if your rental's like, no, you can't do that, as I hit my microphone, then you're kind of stuck. And you have to try to figure something else out.
That was definitely my second one. So Steve sniped me. That's payback.
Good. Yeah.
What's your second
Nice. All right. I gotta figure out which one I'm gonna do because I just wrote them down. I didn't really give a list of importance because I think there's an interesting conversation to have with all of these. I'm going to say, sticking on the fellowship bandwagon, inclusive fellowship. What do I mean by that? And maybe people have been to a feast where you go there and you just feel like people are just doing their own thing. And it's not that they're going other places. They just are not necessarily on the same page of like, let's include this person, let's include other people, right? And sometimes that becomes hard when, especially if you don't have a central place to fellowship, you can't just go and meet people if the brethren there are not focusing on fellowship. It makes it hard because then as like single people, especially if you're traveling without family or you don't have a group of friends you're with, that then makes it really hard to connect at the feast where, we're coming as a body. It should be something we're looking to do. And so I've been carrying that a couple of times. And usually, and the reason why I could say, or one of the results of that is usually I say, man, I met this person like day 6. I'm like, why did that happen? Right. And so there's stuff like that. And I feel like that's something really important. And we've been to a lot of feasts where it's been really awesome, very inclusive. But I've been to one or two where I just, afterwards I go, I didn't meet a ton of new people. And the ones I did, I met like on the last great day or the day before. And so it's like, well, that was a little disappointing.
Yeah. So this is kind of like maybe I don't want to expound on that because I might use it as mine. So I'll keep my
Well, you're getting
thoughts
close.
myself for it now. Yeah, it's similar, but yeah, I definitely can understand that sentiment. Like certain places just feel like you go there and some feasts you start meeting different people immediately, and sometimes it's more, and sometimes it's because of things like there isn't a central place to congregate or anything. So you sort of yours tie together well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back to Corbin. Corbin, what's your second one?
I'm going to phrase it this way. I like to rank feast sites in order of ones that I'd like to go to by the percentage chance of being able to pet a goat.
Nice.
Nice. Some have probably right about 0%. We were originally looking at Hong Kong as a site. There's probably not many goats in the city.
Yeah.
And this could be translated to a more broader principle, and that is this location something that is going to lend itself to being sort of a millennial setting?
Okay.
Last year we were at the feast in Walnut Creek in Amish country. Very peaceful. I did pet a goat. There, I got to feed some other animals. It was very nice, showing my daughter some different animals and a peaceful nature in a community that the community is very peaceful and stuff too. So granted, that's not always a luxury. You can choose a feast site that's has a millennial setting and whatnot, but you can try to create that as much as you can. But if you're able to find a place where you can pet a goat, that is a definite win. Right?
Yes.
Now, don't read into too much. I know there's a whole sheep and goat thing, and whatever. I'm choosing goats here now, but petting a goat.
In real-time editing note to Chantel, do not put millennial setting, put pet a goat likelihood. that's the one for the screen that you need.
That's really what the
Yes. But I love the fact that the spirit behind it is I want a millennial setting, but Corbin like found a proxy measure where it's like, okay, well, if I find a place where I could pet a goat, stands to reason it's millennial in nature. You can't pet a goat in New York City.
I mean, who says
logic
you can't?
checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Not disappointed.
There's goats where my horses are, so I'm like, we feed them carrots every once in a while, and sometimes they're out eating weeds and stuff. And my older one, goats, mommy, we gotta go get the goats. I'm like, okay.
Corbin's got to hang out with your kid.
Come to Tucson.
I don't think it's the first goat-related choice Corbin has made in these episodes. Well, definitely not.
He's got the goat and the cow.
But yeah, definitely a lot of animal references with Corbin. Okay, so mine. I'm going to take it a different direction and go. I love feast sites where the messages are all very hyper focused on the feast itself, as opposed to ancillary subjects, because you can get a mix. It's not always with
snipes me.
Yeah, good. There's something very uplifting about quality reminders each day of different aspects of what the feast pictures, especially for me, like emphasizing work. The restoration of Israel is one that isn't as common, but I love when that is brought up. Shout out to Andy Deemer, he used to be my pastor for United here in Saratoga when I would visit there. And whenever I went to a feast site with him, he always gave these dynamite messages that were always really about the days. And for me, the restoration of Israel is central to that, but also the theme of work. It's not just this like bucolic sort of setting. It's a time of work for God's people. It's a time of work for the world as well. So I love those reminders in messages, things that give us perspective in terms of during our physical life. Like this is not where our citizenship is, pointing to the kingdom. I love that stuff. So anything that keeps me in that mentality in the message part is huge for me. So sermons focused on the feast specifically is mine. I'm glad I sniped you, Steve.
Yeah, it was on my list. I don't know if I would get there, but it was on my list, and I'm glad. I got.
You have a draft board that rivals NFL teams at this point. You have like 100 options on your whiteboard.
Yeah,
right?
Yes, I probably have as many options on here that were first round talents in this year's draft. Inside joke for those who know.
Yeah. Okay, so Sarah's back, and Sarah has the turn now. So you get 2 in a row.
Okay. So then my list is over. My huge long list of my things, because I've gone to 11 sites. Well, this will be my 11th feast, but I am gonna go a little bit more on the vacation thing, but even though it's not, going to a feast area that I've never been to before. Like, I have not done any repeats. I've done a few.
Oh, okay.
I've done a few in Florida, but they were different cities, so I'll let that pass. But, like, I've been to Montana, but I haven't had a feast site there, and it's a beautiful place, and I'm super glad to be able to do it this year, because it is totally, I mean, you've probably heard this a lot, but in God's country, like, it is beautiful. And
yeah, FYI to the audience, 3 of the 4 of us here are going to be in Montana for the feast. So.
Yep. We'll see you there.
Yeah. So come on, you can join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a place I've not been to before too, so that I can like be more traveled, I guess. But like, so I've gone to mostly in the States of the 11, but I've gone to Phuket, Thailand, and
Nice.
yes, and I've gone to Costa Rica.
Okay.
Ooh,
Um,
nice.
so I got to brush up on my Spanish, not Portuguese, but so that was really nice. Like I like to have the little diverse stuff, I guess.
It really is, and you don't realize it until, well, maybe you do because you have a perspective of not always being in the church. But uh, one of the things that I found as I got older was my friends would think it's really strange that I knew people everywhere. Like that's not a common thing, or that you've been to so many places. Not a lot of people get to travel a ton, and it's a nice ancillary benefit to this, right? Like the whole where God places His name, we've made logistical decisions that the feast sites are going to be in these locations. We don't just keep it in Jerusalem, so we go to a bunch of different places each year, and we meet. It's like the easiest way to meet a lot of new people from different parts of the country. Like most of us don't do that naturally in our day-to-day lives. It'll take an event like a Winter Family Weekend, or if you're traveling through for work and you fellowship with the congregation, but the feast gets you in touch with people from all over the country. So like I tell people, oh, I grew up with this friend of mine. Oh yeah, they're in Arkansas. Like it's not a common thing. But it's a really cool part about being in the church. So I love that one. And
Yep.
Steve, you'd be lying if you said that wasn't how you make some of your decisions. In Montana, that was a big part of it. Like I've never been there, so
it's true. It's really true, right? Like I love the idea of being able to, and like to say, mix and match and with that, and yeah, and it is something where, and that way too, you get to meet different brethren, right? I mean,
Mhm.
who knows in Montana? I mean, it's
Yeah.
going to be quite big. We're probably going to run into a lot of people we know, but I like the idea, especially going international. The international, but I know Corbin, you could
Yep.
say this, and Sarah, you mentioned since you've been to Thailand before, like the local brethren love it when people can come there, especially when it's a smaller area like Thailand or like Brazil. That's going to be very interesting, but they usually really
Mhm.
love it, and that's something that I think is quite nice about picking these different places and not always going to the same feast site. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes it'd be great. I mean, we did what, like five in a row, six in a row. We've done it before,
Well, most
but
of most of our life, Steve, has been repeats, like a
yeah,
series of a few locations that we would go to for 3 or 4 years in a row, and it's only been recently that I like haven't gone to the same place each year. And there's an element of it sometimes. I'm like I kind of miss getting to know a place and then coming back and having some same people but some new ones. But I mean, it's always positive. And to your point about international brethren, it's since we're so America centric, a lot of the international locations that are so scattered, even people don't realize how scattered continental Europe is in terms of brethren. Just people hours away from each other. Maybe there's one congregation in Italy or
hmm
Spain or something like that. So when the feast comes, it's a huge opportunity for folks to like meet people from across the church. So that's a big deal. Cool, Sarah. That's a good one. What's your last selection?
Uh, well, do I want to snipe kid things or
I think there's value in like trying to snipe,
Wow.
even if it's not your next favorite one. I feel like anything that injects chaos into the equation is fun.
okay. Well, so I have like I'm not gonna snipe you,
We can
Corbin.
do honorable mentions at the
All
end
right.
too. Like if people don't mention
yeah.
something, you can give plugs to it. So
I've got a
Okay.
bunch
yeah,
of stuff here, so honorable mentions will be fun.
yeah, that's the bonus content on the Patreon. It's just Steve going through his entire board.
Look at all
Yeah,
these.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And I have like three extra that haven't been mentioned yet,
Okay,
but
okay.
hmm
um I like to go places where I can serve.
Okay. Snipe me.
It's a
You
good
did
one.
snipe me on this
Ah!
one.
Yep, that was gonna be my next one. Yep.
Oh, I did snipe. Yes.
There it
It wasn't
is.
Corbin
Yep.
with the
There it
kid
is.
stuff, but I was
I
yes.
got into the kid one.
Yeah, and like it doesn't have to be anything huge and spectacular to serve. Just like singing in the choir or, just
Mhm.
like I think when I went to Thailand, I made it a point to try to sit in a different spot every time to meet more people and be able to talk to them and like the local brethren there. There were a lot of people from Malaysia, I think.
That makes sense. If they're right next to each other.
Yeah. And
He's
so,
the geography king, so you can just ask him.
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Mhm.
So, and they had a lot of kids and stuff. This was before children, before I was married. But just to be able to hang out and like show them your interest and
Mhm.
talk God and stuff with like local brethren, awesome. And that can be a way to serve. It doesn't have to be anything huge. Like since I've had kids, I haven't like been able to be like, oh, this is the list of things to serve. Let's go down the line and oh, help. Well, I'm not a man, so but like no ushering, no, no parking, but like being able to do that kind of stuff and to serve is awesome.
That's a great one. I mean, it's and you also highlighted a couple other things that I think could have been selections in and of themselves. I think sitting in a different seat every day could have been a
Mhm.
selection. Like that's a
It
good
could have
one.
been, but I kind of sniped it, I guess, if I'm gonna put it in with the
That's a good
survey.
strategy. Just like she just weaves all the rest of her choices into her
Listen,
answer.
all of these things.
The way I was going
Yes.
to phrase that one was I like going somewhere where I sign up for way more than I should do. You know,
I kind
as
of be tired at
I
the
tend
end
to
of
do
it.
that. I tend to want to be so busy at the feast, and it's like, okay, I want to give messages, I want to direct a choir, I want to do this, and sometimes then opportunities get thrust upon you just by being there. That's kind of church culture of you ask
Yeah.
about something, you become in charge of it, and that's how I gave a youth Bible study in Spanish that one time, and I'm not fluent in Spanish.
I'm sure you did a good job.
Those kids learned
There were
nothing.
visual aids.
Yeah.
Yeah. They learned English. That's what they learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this actually
yeah, so
an
that
English
was-
class?
Knowing where you can serve is a good one.
That is a good one.
Mhm.
And I guess the thing too is, and without like giving another option in my response to your selection, there's an element of a lot of these, like what makes a good feast site. Some of it is like the external stuff we mentioned that's not in our control, but a lot of it is like the attitude you go in with. Like really, it's God's feast. It should always be a pleasure. I know we go into it like with different stressors that we bring with our from our lives and things like that, and it doesn't always go smoothly. But like attitude is such a big part of the feast, which is sort of like your it relates to your first choice, Sarah. But even this one about service, like you'd be hard pressed to find a site where you can't serve somewhere. And it's also a great way to meet people. But as an addendum to that, Corbin, I think, listed it, or maybe Corbin told me this idea years ago, and I chose it I stole it from him on our first episode. But it'd be so cool if there was like a day during the feast where everyone did a service project. Like that's one of those things that's been in my head for a long time. I know I got it from Corbin. But like, okay, there's one day where, it's in the middle of the feast. We're not going to do a service, but the expectations, we all go to this place and we do something, whatever, good for the community that we're having the feast site in or something. Like that would be such a cool thing with service. I'm glad someone mentioned it because it wouldn't have got past me with this next pick. So, okay. So mine, now I have to make a decision.
Mhm.
Okay. I think I know what I'm going to do. This is kind of, if for people who know me well, this is always something I love doing, but there's a particularly unique opportunity to do at the feast, which is, and Sarah touched on it, intergenerational fellowship.
I had that down too.
she's just erasing things left and right.
Yep.
But it's always been a big thing for me growing up. Like I grew up in a small a corner of the Church of God, a small group, and there was always that naturally. And when I go to different feast sites, for me, it's always like I tend to look for people who are my senior. But I've realized as I've gotten older, I'm no longer like the young cohort in the church, which is weird to say. Like, okay, 35, you can't even really go to young adult Bible studies and stuff anymore. Like that's the threshold, man. You're past it. But giving time to people younger than you, whether it's young, like 20 is an adult, but still younger, or it's like you said, it's kids, right? To show that baptized members of the church give you the time of day. They care about what you think. They care about what you're doing in your life. And it makes you feel like part of the community. And I think that's such a big, thing to share with other people. It's kind of a service in and of itself, but for me, it's one of my favorite things about the feast is not like, oh, well, I want to go and hang out with my peers the whole time. It's like the whole spectrum of people you meet is one of the joys of it.
So Dan, what does that look like when you're choosing a site? Like, let's see, this site is in this city. Oh, it's Branson. Oh, I'm going to hang out with old people there. That's why I need to find. Like in terms of choosing a site, how does that?
Honestly,
equate to
there's a lot of younger kids going to Branson this year.
Right. Right.
So I love,
but like
I love the Branson slander.
All right.
Yeah, but it's I don't. But see, that's the thing. So Corbin, I like this. Corbin chose his list based on how do you choose where to go versus I'm like, what makes a good site? I might not even know till I get there, right? I might not know if there's a central fellowship location like Steve brought up, right? That happened to us. Like I don't know anything about the site. This and something is really conducive, maybe naturally when you get there, but you don't know. So for me, I guess the good thing is that one, there's always that opportunity. Like that's one that you can't really miss with. There's always going to be that opportunity.
Yeah. Isn't that in scripture where like there'll always be the old people with you?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's the poor. Don't worry.
It's gonna be me pretty soon. So or us, I should say.
Dan and I are the same age. Like we literally are months apart. And I'm like, yep, we've met our our midlife. We could do our crisis stuff now if we wanted. But
but it's also it's part of what makes aging interesting and aging in the church interesting is that for each era, different things become important. Because like I remember when I was 10, 12 years old, the people who I remember being friends of my parents who gave me the time of day and it meant a lot to me. Like it really kept me emotionally connected to brethren in the church. All of a sudden I go, oh man, they were my age. They were younger than I am now. Like it messes with my brain a little bit, but it gives you that sense of responsibility to go, you gotta pay that forward, right? You gotta do that for your friends' kids or people who, just you bump into someone at the feast and just engage and talk with them. So, okay, Corbin, round out your list. That we now is based on selection.
Just a side comment on aging. I have my midlife crisis minivan now, so.
Oh man, you got a minivan. Okay, yep,
nice.
Yeah, rocking that. They're so practical.
Is it Honda
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're rocking that minivan.
I'm surprised neither of you guys said like the ability to rent a minivan at the airport. Wide selection of rental cars.
Yeah, that's a good one too. All right, so for my last one, this is an interesting one because it's one of the reasons why we decided to go to where we're going, Brazil, has been a reason that I've rejected sites up until now.
Okay.
So I'm having a bit of a change of heart. All inclusive.
Okay.
I have had some stereotypes and some baggage in my mind of some all-inclusive sites in the past.
Okay.
Hearsay and rumors and whatnot. Maybe some of them are party sites or whatever like that. We have the all-inclusive party on the beach sites or whatever, and I've never gone to them, so I've not been able to prove those rumors wrong. And I'm sure some of them, most of them are fine. But I've always had that sort of like all-inclusive. It seems very touristy, vacation-y and stuff. I don't want that. But this the site in Brazil is mostly all inclusive. You have breakfast and dinners included, but it's not like I don't know. You can go there to hang out. It's not like a party place or whatever. So, the reason being, I guess, with having young kids, not having to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what we're going to eat, where we're going to eat, how we're going to eat,
Yeah.
in which orientation we're going to eat, upside down or right side up. It's just, hey, there's a buffet. You get lots of fruit. Okay, picky eaters can find something. You don't have to worry about that. And so I kind of like that it's semi all inclusive. So you still go out with other people to go scavenge for lunch somewhere, in town or something like that, and which more opportunities to fellowship or go to a restaurant with someone. But so the all inclusive aspect of just not having to worry about meals. Coming from when we camped last year and had to make all our own meals, it's like, yeah, let's just have it a little easier this year. So I'm giving all inclusive a chance this time.
We're seeing a theme with Corbin's. Maybe not the goat one, but like accessibility and all inclusive. It's just like, I don't want to be stressed at this thing.
Yeah.
It's a good point, because and I've thought about it, and it's just good for everyone when we go to the feast to think this way, where like a young family has a harder time like going out to dinner late at night, right? Like, okay, I'm the older single guy. Like, yeah, I could go out and we could be talking until 9:30, but the couples are like, no, we got to put the kids to bed.
9:30.
I could be later. I was trying to be reasonable. Like, for a young family, they're not being out at a restaurant until 9:30.
That's true. Most of the time.
But even folks who, again, have mobility issues, when there are things to do that are like right in the whatever complex you're having it in, so that people can be involved, even if it's not like every meal or every event, if there are things that are going on that people who don't have as much access to transportation can participate in, that's a good thing. Okay, Steve, you're the last one.
All right.
Which one are you picking?
So it's interesting because I was looking at my list and there's like 3 or 4. I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. And like that kind of has been mentioned already, but partially. So I'll mention a lot of those when we do our honorable mentions. I think the one I'm going to go with, and it kind of ties into some of the stuff we've been talking about already, and especially with the idea of like not a whole lot to do, is I don't like it when feast sites have like an activity every single day, like 2 or 3, right? When stuff is overpacked. Yeah, when stuff is overpacked, I'm like, I could do it. Like I could do this myself, right? I could figure things out. I can go meet people. Because I know, and talking very briefly with some festival coordinators, they're like, well, it's kind of a hard balance, right? Like, do you plan? Do you overplan to force people together, right? Do you force fellowship by forcing activities, or do you let people get together themselves? And so it's an interesting balance. Personally, I like it when there's less activities planned so that we can be a little bit more, now I sound like a millennial single girl, more spontaneous and go and go do stuff and go do stuff whenever we want at the feast, right? Because when you don't have like, oh, I have to be here at 4:00 or I have to be here at this time or this time, you can do a lot of different things with people and not have to, you can do, because it was funny, Dan, when you mentioned the 6-hour dinner, for us, it was always like the 6-hour lunch. We'd always start at like 11 and go until 4, right? And I know that's 5 hours, but we'd always do like that long random one, and then we just wouldn't eat dinner at the feast. So, but yeah, it's that kind of idea where we could just enjoy each other's time instead of being like, oh, I gotta run here, gotta do this, gotta do that. So and again, it goes to the idea of like not being stressed as well. I think that's another core principle that we've talked about a lot, is let me experience the feast with joy and with service, but also like on my own time, right? That putting in enough effort, because if you overdo it 3-4 days in, you get sick, maybe you just get super tired and you just sleep an entire day. I've never done that, but I know people do that, right? So I think that's part of it, is allowing people to do that. But I think there's always some positives for activities, but not too many.
Yeah, it's one of those.
So stress, petting a goat. That'll help with stress.
That reduces stress quite a bit.
You guys,
Corbin's lobbying for that one. Yeah, and like you're saying too, it's you get such a diversity of people who go to the feast, and so for people who maybe need like a push or like a reason to go someplace to meet folks, activities are good. But I agree, and I do think I've noticed fewer the last handful of years. Like I've noticed a
Same.
shift in that direction. That there's like a couple things like anchors for the feast. Almost always a dinner dance, maybe like one group excursion, and then things like the um, uh, dinner, like senior citizen dinner kind of thing, which has been a tradition. So, but I agree. Awesome, guys. Okay, so that's our list. Undoubtedly, they will be up next to our faces by the time Chantel gets a hold of this and does her editing magic. But I don't think I personally have any honorable mentions. I kind of hinted at it before, and I know it sounds trite, but like the right attitude makes a good feast. Like it sounds cliche, but it is true. And I do appreciate when coordinators usually get up at the beginning of the feast and encourage people to get into that headspace, to not make it like a vacation, to meet people, to serve people, to find time during the feast for prayer and Bible study, because it's so easy to just get out of a routine when you're at the feast. I mean, maybe one of my honorable mentions is what makes a good feast is not putting on 10 to 15 pounds when you come back.
I don't know if it's possible, Dan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, if you're gonna have 6-hour lunches, you might.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's calories don't count during the feast. I'm like, that's no longer funny because it really does.
They do.
But, yeah, but that would be just my contribution for honorable mention. Before we get to Steve's like laundry list of things, Sarah or Corbin, do you have anything else that didn't get mentioned that you appreciate in feast sites?
I have some.
Okay,
So I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I actually have two that kind of go together, but so I'll do one at a time, I guess. The time of year, like if it's earlier in the year, like September into October, or if it's all in October or whatever. So you have the weather that you can have like nicer.
Yeah.
Like we went to Colorado a couple years ago. Yes, because I was pregnant with Miriam. And it snowed. And it was really cool because we were at a ski site, kind of. There wasn't any snow when we were there, but I'm sure all the littles prayed for snow and we got some. And it was really cool. Like, and it's not so being in Tucson, it is like summer most of the year. So it's nice to have the autumn, fall, different weather.
And as soon as you
like that.
Yeah, and it is a good one because as soon as you said it, my favorite, I think people look at me strange when I say this, but my favorite feast location ever was Arizona. We did it in Phoenix for like a bunch of years in a row, and I love Arizona just like as a rule. But there is a difference between when the feast comes early and you have it in Arizona in like September versus if it's later in October. It's a big difference in terms of comfortability. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's like COG was having one in Tucson, and we have like a satellite UCG site here.
Okay.
And I'm just like, you guys are brave. You want to come this time of year? All right. Yes, there's
Tucson-
things to do.
Tucson's one of our locations as a community for some reason. Like there are certain things or certain places that have always been locations for the Church of God. I guess places like the Poconos are no longer common for feast site locations. Someone should bring it back.
The thing is, though, the Poconos is this a larger area. United is doing a Lancaster one this year, which is kind of close to the Poconos.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
It's close because the Poconos
No,
it
you
is
change
a
your
region.
minds.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, there's that, and so I think Caguas had it in the Poconos too. So there's usually an area. It's just not. It's never in the same town.
Yeah. Branson's one. Corbin. And
The Dells.
Is always the Dells. The Dells is a classic one. I think the Catskills used to, like Saratoga in the Catskills by where I am used to be a site. I think there are a lot of people clamoring to bring that back. That'd be expensive though. But That's a good one. That's a good one. What was the other honorable mention?
Um, if you're in your third tithe year, because you
Oh,
don't have that extra money. So, for instance, I went to Thailand in one of my third tithe years, and it was 33 baht to the dollar. So it like doubled my,
Mhm.
tripled my money, and
okay.
it was
Mhm.
awesome.
Nice.
And the
I,
ability to like help people while you're there, like just that's an interesting frame of like to be in
Mhm.
a third tithe year and to be in that mentality of I have funds specifically designed to help a set of people. I had not thought about that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a good
I
one.
love.
it was honestly like such a blessing to go there too. Like I God always works stuff out. That's why that whole thing, like where God places his name, encompasses so much because God works it out to be what it needs to be for a feast site for you. Because, like, I went with a smaller, maybe amount of money that I would have if I had the extra, if I wasn't tithing so much. But, like, I did not go without at all there. And I was able to help out. And then, like, COVID, God definitely wrote his name for me that year, and it all worked out where if you fly here at this time, then I can come get you and you can room with us and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And it was perfect. And I still got to fellowship with a younger crowd because I was younger then too, but it
We were all
was like,
younger then, Sarah.
how?
Mhm.
6 years ago already. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But I was able to hang out with their girls, three of their girls, and they roomed with their boys because they're younger anyway. But so I got to fellowship with a younger group, and like we're all still friends too, which is really cool. One of them just got married too. I'm not old. I am not old. It's okay. But like again, God writes his name somewhere, it all works out. And
And it's also what you were saying reminded me of another one that might be a good honorable mention that um, different groups observe the feast differently in like really cool, interesting ways. Like the culture of when we met at the CGA feast that one time, like that's different than a United one, which is different than a Kaga one. Like, of course, we're all keeping the Feast of Tabernacles, but there are certain traditions certain people have, others don't. If you go to a like an independent feast site, sometimes like a local group in Texas or something will have a feast site. You get a flair for the local congregation. And I know for you mentioned you didn't go without at the feast in Thailand, and it triggered. We went to a small site by an independent group for a while back in the day, and the guy who led it would always say, if you are lacking funds, let us know. Like there are people with excess second tithe who want to help you out. This is a feast, not a fast. And I'm like, so that always sticks to my
Mhm.
head. Shout out George Weber. So
Yep. Shout out to George.
those are good ones.
and you're supposed to rejoice at the feast. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yep.
commanded to rejoice. So it's also nice to be able to serve and help people to rejoice and not worry about things. Like I like maybe I should do some all-inclusive ones with the kids soon. Corbin, because that sounds like it would be a lot less stressful.
Don't you dare change your mind about coming to Montana and hang out with
I
us.
am not. I already said
Yeah.
we already
Some
booked. We're
They
good.
have food on site. They have food on site.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
No.
Yes, they do. Actually, like the meals are super cheap, which my husband's like, this is a we should go here.
No.
All of these, this is great. I'm like, yeah. Because we got two now that eat a lot.
So Corbin, what are your honorable mentions, and how many of them
Yeah.
involve goats?
Well, yeah, I could work goats into all of them,
I was
really.
gonna say all of them.
Nice. Good.
So one of them is, and this is going to make me sound like I have dad brain, but where they have family day activities, because not all sites do, but there have been some really fun, even before kids. I thought it was really fun when people would come together and you get to watch the excitement and the joy the kids have, and that just really helps make the feast more feasty to me when I see all the kids having such joy. And now that I'm a parent, my kids are too young for a lot of that yet, but it's still it's just nice to see everyone come together for some fun family day stuff, especially if it's pin the tail on the goat or any kind of activities with like
Challenge accepted.
balloon
Yeah.
races or whatever. But
Any kind of activities with goats.
I'm just getting your goat, Dan. I'm just getting your goat. Sorry. Yeah, it might behoove me to change the subject to something else, but
you need to do an entire podcast episode just speaking like in puns and plays on words and everything like that. You could do it pretty easily, actually.
I would love
Specifically
that. Be
with
still
goats.
my bleating heart.
So before we move on to any other ones you have, you mentioned Family Day, and I'm pretty positive this story took place on a Family Day in Jekyll Island, which actually surprised me. It was one of my favorite locations.
The football thing?
That's another classic Church of God location is Jekyll Island. And so, and again, keeping on the theme with Sarah and I of learning about your age in iterations. It was a couple of years ago, and there was a family day, and it was on the beach, and everyone's like, you can't really leave Jekyll Island because every time you come back in, like you kind of have to pay a fee, or it's an interesting setup, but I really liked it because of that. So we're on the beach, and me and Steve are out there throwing the football around because we're big football fans, and we see, and his friend Tobin comes over, and we see a bunch of younger guys playing touch football on the beach, and they're like, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, and we're like, let's play with them. Let's play a game with them. Like we can have, we're athletes. And we started playing. We played one game, especially Tobin and I were going all out, and it's barefoot on the beach. And I had never done that extreme. By the time the game ended, Tobin and I could not walk. Our feet were torn up. And
that's why I wore shoes.
Yeah. And all the guys like, oh, you want to play another game? And I'm like, no, we're good. And we like walked into the water to soothe our feet. And then the next day, Tobin needed to cancel the disc golf day that he and Steve had because he was in so much pain. And
Yeah,
I was
we were gonna go do something together.
That was one of those moments for me that I'll always treasure about a family day.
Bleeding
Nice.
toes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got blisters on your toes this time instead of your fingers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other ones, Corbin?
Yeah, I guess more of a continuation of some things said before, but going where you can share your blessings is something I encourage more Americans to do. We have the blessing of choice, being able to choose different sites, whereas where my wife grew up in the Philippines, it's like, oh, we have one site, that's what we can go to. Like this is our nearest site. This, you silly Americans spend all this time worrying and planning where you're going to go. Like we planned the week before, we know where we're going. But being able to travel to some of these different countries where just your presence is joy bringing because someone new is coming, and for me, being bald is something that also brings joy to people. Shiny head, dad jokes, whatever. So your presence are your presents to others, but then it just having the sort of American second tithe excess that we're blessed with does go far in those places, and you can find sneaky ways to try to sponsor a group meal for someone, or you can just, and I think people want to do that. It's just they don't always know the opportunities that exist over there for greater joy. I mean, here you have 5 people trying to fight over who gets the bill on the restaurant, and you go out to a group dinner. And it's like, oh well, I didn't get to. Now just what am I gonna do with the rest of this? Second tie. So go to a foreign country and buy a goat for someone.
I was
Like
gonna
just
say,
go.
buy a goat.
What
Yeah.
do I do with this? Yeah.
It's a live goat. You didn't specify.
The
Yes.
That's the meal for the congregation that night. So
the great part about you bringing that back up, because I hadn't thought about it the first time, but there's a love of brethren that is very acutely felt when you go overseas because of what we talked about before, like because of how scattered things are. And that's not always in terms of the the immediate impression of the environment you're in. That's not always the case in the States. It can be, very often it is, but something I think need to work on sometimes with our sites. But the scarcity of brethren around in some of these other countries, the love of, it's a very pure love of the brethren and excitement. And to me, that's always been what church and the faith is. It's like this rabid excitement around other people who are going through the same thing as you. Cause like I grew up in a really tiny church cohort. And so that's, I could really empathize with that feeling. So that's a very good one. Since we're coming up on the hour, Steve, I'm going to limit you to two, your two favorites.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't even going to dive into a ton because a lot of them kind of interconnected with a lot of things that had already been said. So just kind of briefly mention some things. Like I already kind of referenced the idea of like inclusive fellowship. One of the things that was almost like a caveat too is it's always nice to go to the feast with a group of people to help break the ice with everybody else, right? I think that's something that's important with the feast because you want to get it, right? You want to make sure you have that opportunity and then you can break away from there. But and then a couple of other things, not superficial, but we talked about food. Like good food options is important because as church people in general, eating is important, but breaking bread and fellowshipping is such an important part of the feast. You need good food options there. But the one I want to spend a decent amount of time on is, and this is more of a funny thing, because it's very subjective and it goes to other things we've talked about on different podcasts, and is a balanced hymn selection.
Okay.
I've had some feasts where I'm singing and I go, I have no idea what song this is. And I do that for 5 or 6 songs and I go, I don't know what happened. And then I'm like, I don't like this song. I'm not a big fan of this song. Oh, finally, a song I really like. And then I don't know the next 3. So there are times where, this is maybe for all the song leaders out there, have a good balance, because a lot of feast sites they will have like 3 song leaders do the entire one and we'll split it up. If you got 3 days, break it up a bit. Give some, as we say, some bangers, some good runs that you're just going to get everybody to just smash that high note in that 3rd stanza on the last line, and you're just ready to go, right? You need some of those, and then you have some other songs in there. But I'll just put that out there. A good feast site needs a good balanced hymn selection, because we're at services 10 times, right? Approximately, maybe no, I'm talking like almost, about 10, 7 days of one service, and then maybe 2 and multiple, so it's 10 to 11.
Math and Steve's ones.
Yeah, and it happens sometimes,
Yeah. But I think that's important. I'm surprised no one mentioned anything music related. But yeah,
you've done 2 podcasts already about music. That's probably why.
Music's out, which is not possible with us. But I have it down here. It was my last one I wrote down, and I was like, I should bring that one up because I think it is important, and it's just the idea of when you're at the feast too, right? Like Sarah, you mentioned like the joyous element of the feast. If I don't know half the songs, it's not going to come out in the song service. So,
but also on the positive end, there are when you sing One Faith, One Love with 600 people, or God Be With You Till We Meet Again, Crown Him With Many Crowns, or Praise the Eternal with a Psalm. Like those are moments that like that's a pick you up going into the service. So that's a good one. That's why I love these.
Yeah, and I have to say, because you didn't mention it, Dan, praise the Lord the Almighty.
Yeah,
shout out Nate Forrester. That high note there, I've heard him in a crowd of 600 people. I'm like, I know that voice. I know that one. And that's the extra joy in singing those kinds of songs. Yeah.
Okay, so Stephen, are you going to be song leader at this feast?
I put down for it. We'll see. I put down for it.
All right.
So we'll see.
I'm gonna
only bangers if I'm up there.
Only bangers. Yeah.
Only bangers. I'm up there.
Awesome. Well,
you're gonna hold me to that. Watch. I'm gonna have the feast coordinator up there. Like you're gonna have to put that clip up if I end up song leading. I am true to my word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can attest to it, and Dan will be able to attest to it. So it'll be
2 or 3 witnesses. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, those are good options, guys. I like the perspectives everyone brought. I love doing Clean Meats episodes. So glad Corbin came up with the name years ago, and it's just been sitting on that shelf, and now it's a catalyst to fun hangouts. So a pleasure having you guys on. Welcome, Sarah, to the rotation. Got to get you back for another one.
Yeah, I'll do it.
But thanks everyone for watching and for listening. We'll see you next time.